Hey, hello everyone. So today, 1st December, um, it's my birthday and it has been a really good day. So today we are going to start closures and a closure is a okay. So and because it has been a good day, I'm feeling really energetic today, and therefore it's a really good day to start closures because closure is an important topic and um, it's asked a lot in my limited experience. Not limited. The like I have a good interview experience where it has been asked to me like 3 or 4 times. So a closure is the combination of function. We have done closure, so we have seen uh, basically what closure is that say I have a function f and I have a subfunction k. This is f, this is k, and I have some variables declared here. So this can be or some variables that are passed in as argument of f, then those could be used in K. So basically that's closure, but it has different applications. It has different a lot of proper applications in data hiding in abstractions. So uh, that's why it's very important. And then the bounds is you like implemented using closure. So that's why it's very important. A closure is the combination of a function bundled together and closed with a reference to its surrounding state and the lexical environment. In other words, a closure gives you access to outer function scope from the inner function. In JavaScript, closure is created every time the function is created, a function creation time. Consider the following example. Init function name exactly. Um, Now, in the display name function, closure forms a closure with the variable name, and because name is in the outer function, but it's being used in the inside function. Now, init can be called anytime, and like we can and display name, we get the function. We can also return display name, and then we can use that function anywhere, like store the value of init anywhere and in a variable, and then we can use that. uh, they are explaining all this. We have done closures, so we know what a closure is because in the beginner and the JavaScript guide we had closures, but I think they'll might go in some deeper like practical closure or anything, but that they will see scoping with let and cons. So Um, traditionally, ES6 JavaScript has only two kind of scope: functional scope and global scope. Yeah. So var was functional scope and everything mm, basically, and there was a global scope. So variable declared with var are either functional scope or global scope, depending on whether they are declared within a function or outside a function. This can be tricky because blocks with curly braces do not create scopes. Yeah, exactly. So now here, these both x's are like global scope. So now the value of x will be 2 after this. Uh, okay, so uh, what could be a good thing is that I open VS Code and where was my JavaScript file? The JavaScript docs, yeah, this file, new window. Let's. I could have also used the console to do this. So but So okay, so now var x is equals to, let's say 3. So what will be that case? In that case also it's giving 1 because it's redeclaring var in this case, and like it could be 1 or 2. So like 2, 2, 1, 2. So but it's never 3 because because these two vars are done in global scope, and then mm, they replace the original x. But when we come to um, constants, they are block scope, so they are only valid till the curly braces. Consider the following coding example: const name. Yep. So yeah, that's what I was saying, that they can return this function, and then it could be used. Uh, Make adder. So now basically if we want to make an add 5 function, so we can write a code which returns a function that returns x plus y. So now when we make this function make adder 5, then it will return a function which takes an argument, one argument takes one argument and returns 5 plus y. So that thing will be saved in add 5, and now when we console log add 5 2, then we get 7. So that's how, like, function calling also depends on this like uh, this property of closure. So and therefore closures therefore and like let me show you the debounce function. Debounce JavaScript. So function debounce, it takes a function that will be executed and a timeout. So timeout, you can actually set the timeout here. So it takes a function and let timer. So basically for the first time, timer will be undefined. Now we return a function from the debounce function, and we basically clear not the timer, and we start a new timeout that basically calls the function that we have passed. So now let's say we call this debounce with this fetch result function. So um, it will be passed here, and timer will be initialized to undefined, and then it will return a function with clear timeout and set timeout, and this function will be applied here. And so after it will be only executed after 500 millisecond has been passed. So now let's say we call it process change, and we call it like let's say like 10 times, but before 500 milliseconds. Each time we call it before, like let's say 400 milliseconds. Then this function console log will never be done. But as soon as we call, but for the last time, after the last time has been called and 500 milliseconds have been passed, then fetch result will be actually be called. Let's see if I get a non-picturized version, then I'll show you it's running. I guess I can, yeah, they have the same example. So this is a debounce function, process change, and let's say and if I call every 200 millisecond, 2000 millisecond, I call process chain for, let's say, let I equals to 0 and I plus plus. If I smaller than, let's say, 5. Okay, so now if I run node index or just nothing happens, nothing happens. And after, okay, mm, every, every 200,000 milliseconds I'm calling. So, one minute. Am I getting a problem because, oh, let's make it 3000. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hmm. Yeah, so after 15, yeah, so basically after 15, around 10 seconds, it called basically one saving data. So probably I counted just way too fast because it should come after 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, I got one saving data because every like at the exact 11 seconds. Basically, every time when I call process change, it clears out the previous process change. So it does not call that. But for the last time, as 3000 milliseconds had passed, it finally calls saving data. So that's how it works. Practical closure. Closures are useful because they let you associate data, the lexical environment for a function after on data. It's obvious that parallels to object-oriented program where object allows you to associate data with object properties with one more method. Consequently, you can use closures anywhere that you might normally use an object with only single method. Situations where you might want to do this are practically common on the web. Much of the code written in front-end JavaScript is event-based. You define some behavior and then you attach an event that is triggered by. So basically, I've used set interval, but normally what you'll do, basically you'll make a search feature. Basically, let's say I have made this search feature. Nice. Uh, array. Uh, I'll show you how it works. I made the search feature. Hmm. So now if I go to page number, let's say 5, uh, 1 minute, I did it very slowly. Uh, I should not. So let's clear everything. And now if I quickly go to page number, let's say 11. So now only request for page number 11 was the sent. Now if I go back to page number, let's say 8, then request for page number 8 was only sent. And this is the use of debounce. So I've used debounce here. And that's how basically it works on closures. And if I go back to page number, uh, so basically I stopped in at 3 in between. So for I've taken 500 millisecond as a time. So after 500 millisecond, it calls the request. Now on page number, well, let's say one. Uh, okay, I am on page number 91. I go on page number 92. So like these are some optimizing ways. So if I go back on page number 91, I've optimized it to store in cache so that also works. So I can also like ABB. I can typing also works, but it's better to show it there. So situations you yeah. For instance, suppose you want to add a button page that adjusts the text size. One way of doing this specify body size and body element in pixels and set the size of other elements such that headers relative to such interactive text size button can change the font size property of the body element and adjustments are picked up by other elements on the page thanks to relative units. Here's the JavaScript font size. Yeah, we can change the font size. Okay. So this closure is returning uh, a mark like size 12 function, size 14 function, and that's what they are using. Basically, we can make different functions from say like writing a function once, and then we can make different functions from that. Emulating private methods with closure. So closures is very useful when we want to hide data. So JavaScript language such as Java allow you to declare methods as private, meaning that they can be called for only by other methods in same class. JavaScript prior to classes didn't have native way of declaring private methods, but it was possible to emulate private methods using closures. Private methods aren't always just for restricting access to code. They are also provide powerful way of managing global namespace. Yeah. The following code illustrates how to use closures to define public functions that access private variables functions. Note that these closures follow modular design pattern. Okay. We, I'll do a section like I'll do a whole series on design patterns also. So, where we will learn about design patterns. So, we'll come to this later. I guess this is the last topic in intermediate. We'll go straight into advanced next. Yup. Counter function let private counter is equals to 0. Function change by value. Private counter plus is equals to value. Okay. Basically, we have this private counter and change by function. And okay, so and we return increment and decrement function. And we have also a value function that returns private counter. So now we can do counter dot increment counter dot. We can get the counter dot value. We can get counter dot increment counter dot uh, decrement, and we can also so basically we don't give the access to private counter um, to these functions, so no one can change that. Those three public functions are closures that share the same lexical environment. Thanks to JavaScript lexical environment, they each have access to private counter variable and change by function. Exactly. So they can access the change by function and private counter, but the private counter itself could not be changed. So that's how closures work. And basically, they are making two counters and explaining us that both the counters are now counter one and counter two will have different values uh, and can be changed accordingly. So they'll not affect each other. They are completely different functions and completely different scopes. So uh, basically, that's it. That's closure. That closures are very easy to understand. They are not easy. They have very important and uh, important uses in front end development. And if you want to go to front end, go in front end, I think closures are one of the most important topics that closures and like event loop are the important topics that you must do very well. Every closure has three scope: local scope, own scope, close local scope, that's called own scope, and closing scope. So the scope of the enclosing function can be block function or module scope, global scope. A common mistake is not realizing that in the case where the outer function is itself a nested function access to the outer function scope includes the enclosing scope of the outer function, effectively creating a chain of function scope. To demonstrate this, consider this. Sum A returns a function B that takes B, returns a function that takes C, returns a function that takes C. Basically, and now we can do this like sum of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and because so sum of 1 will return this function. Now sum of 1 2 will return this function. Sum of 1 2 3 will return this uh, function. Sum of 1 2 3 4 will return A plus B plus C plus D plus E. So, hmm? Okay, so this also E. That's why it's 20 and not 10. You can write without anonymous function. Yeah, so this can also be written in like named function, which is like, okay, cool. Uh, Closures can capture variables in block scope and module scope as well. For example, the following creates a closure over block scope variable. Yep. So const x is equals to 5 if math.random greater than 0.5, const y return console log x comma y outer log. Closures over module can be interesting. Okay. Let x is equals to 5. Export constant get x basically and get set x, and these are the function exported from this module. And now we can use this set x as a closure. It has all the value of x which was its scope. So x is equals to val, so it sets like basically it sets x as 6 after this. uh, Closure can close over important values as well, which are regarded as life. Today my throat got a little bit. Obviously, like uh, we were celebrating a few hours ago. It's life binding because when the original value changes, the important one changes accordingly. Uh, Export let x is equals to 1. Export set x is equals to it takes the value x is equals to value. Now we import x from my module, uh, and we export getx, and basically we are forming close over import, and we are getting getx from this, setx from there and there, but then also we can change like obviously x is in this scope, and therefore setx does change this value of x. So creating closures in loop, a common mistake. Prior to introduction of let keyword, a common problem to closure occurs when you created them inside a loop. To demonstrate, consider the following example. So um, when there was no let keyword, a lot of people still a lot of people, what they do, they declare a variable outside the for loop, and then they try to manipulate that. But in the case of var, as var are functionally scope, this was a big problem, because var uh, automatically got declared on the top, and that's why then we that and that's how it's a problem that people create closures in for loop, and it was a problem with JavaScript var with that. It automatically did that thing. Uh, so some p tags and some input tags. So document.get element by id help this p tag, and show help function setup helper text this. So yes, here var I is equals to 0, but I is declared in the global function scope, and which function is it part of? Is it part of any function? Uh, yeah, it's part of show help. So it's declared in show help, and item is equal to helper text.I, document.get element by id, item.id on focus function, and it's show help item.id. Let's try to run this. That's why we are getting age, because I has been declared in the function scope. The help text array defines the three meaningful helpful hints, each associated with the ID of the input field document. The loop cycles through three definitions, hooking up the onFocus event to each one that shows associative help method. If you try this code out, you'll see that it doesn't work as expected. No matter what field you focus on, the message about your age will be displayed. The reason for this is that the function assigned the onFocus are closures. They consist of function definition and captured environment from the setup help function scope. Okay. Yeah. Three closures have been created by the loop, but each one shares the same lexical environment, which has variables with changing a value item. This is because the variable item is declared with var, and thus as function scope due to hoisting. The value of item.help is determined when the onFocus callbacks are executed. Because of loop, they already run in course by time. The item variable object shared by three closures have been left pointing to the last entry on the help text list. Yeah, so what they're saying, the first for first I is equals to 0, item will be like a helper text of 0, and this will work. But then I will become a 1, and this again will like it will change that original var also that was created. So new var has been created and it changes the original var because it's in this scope, the functional scope, and that's when it becomes 2, then it again changes that. So finally all three has like item of helper text is basically helper text of 2. One solution in this case is to use more closures, in particular to use function factory as described earlier. Hmm. One solution is use more closures, and second solution is this works at I expected rather than callbacks are sharing the same lexical environment, but make help callback function creates a new lexical environment for each callback in which helps refers to corresponding string from helper text array. One other way is to write the above using anonymous closures. Yeah, so and then we can use the let keyword. So then we can also use the for each loop performance consideration. As mentioned previously, each function instance manages its own scope and closure. Therefore, it's unwise to unnecessarily create functions within other functions if closures are not needed for a particular task, as it will negatively affect script performance both in terms of processing speed and memory consumption. Plus, the garbage collector can also not collect those uh, at that moment, so that will also be a problem. For instance, when creating a new object slash class, method should normally be associated with object property rather than defined into object constructor. The reason is that whenever the constructor is called, the method would get reassigned. That is the object creation. Um, Function name message. Name is equal to names. This one message is to get name, get message. Because the previous code does not take advantage and benefit of using closures, in this particular instance, we could instead rewrite avoiding using closures follow. Yeah, we can add that to the object.prototype chain. However, redefining the prototype is not recommended. The following example instead appends the existing prototype. Okay. Oh, it appends. Okay. The two previous examples are inherited prototypes that can be shared by all objects, and method definitions need not occur on every object creation. See, and it is we have seen prototypal chain. Uh, so we are done with closures, and I hope, like got to, I had a bit of knowledge in closures, but I got to understand like the solution for getting closures. Though I just use the let keyword, I rarely use var and do not, and most of the new developers would not use var and get stuck into these problems. But it's definitely necessary to know because there's still a lot of old code and that needs to be filtered out. I guess that's it for today's session. Let me just write. I should learn the MEDIA. Okay. It has been like 3 or 4 times where I've got that spelling wrong and I've still not remembered. So I'll remember that. And it's done. Please do like, share, subscribe. Mm, Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Oh, hey, hey, hey. Uh, from a few videos, I'm getting a few like concurrent viewers. Like there are at least 20 people that are concurrently viewing. So that's good. Um, I'm happy with that. And I've gained like around 25 subscribers. So that's also really good. Actually, that's really good. So because I'm not doing a lot. Like a lot of people there are actually like trying to help. They are like taking out extra time to help out folks out there, and I'm just helping out myself. And in that process, if I could just share what I'm doing, I'm just doing that. And I think those people deserve a lot more than what I do, and that's why the little I get, I'm really happy with um, whatever I'm getting. I guess we are done. Thank you guys for joining. All those 8 people. Please do like, share, subscribe. I don't think people will share, but yeah, like, subscribe, comment if you find something cool. Thank you. Bye bye.